My name is Adam Miller. I do release engineering for OpenShift. It is a open source platform as a service from Red Hat. I'm going to kind of, since we're short on time, I'm trying to do a kind of whirlwind introduction to what it is, why you might care, and what platform as a service in general. And that's we'll get ahead of ourselves. And I'll apologize for sloppiness in my slides. I kind of like monkey patch this together while also putting together a live demo that I'm going to go through in a second. So what is OpenShift? We're an open source platform as a service from Red Hat. We have our main project, which is upstream, OpenShift Origin, which I have a slide on in a minute. We have OpenShift Online, which is free, available currently in tech preview. You can use it. And then we have our enterprise that you can install on-premise support product. So what is platform as a service? So the idea of platform as a service cloud in terms of the three cloud paradigms is we abstract away the platform pieces, the databases, the language runtimes, the web infrastructure. We provide that to web developers in such a way that they can be kind of like building blocks. You pick your Legos and you assemble your platform that you want. We've got, I've got a slide in a minute, we've got all the popular runtimes. We've got Python, Java, Ruby, Node, then we've got the major open source databases, Postgres, MySQL, Mongo. So Paas versus other stuff, it's not an infrastructure as a service. You can run it on infrastructure as a service. You can run it on bare metal. You can run it in VM on your laptop. OpenShift Online actually runs on EC2. We run Amazon. We don't hide it. If you do an NS lookup on any of our servers, you can find it. It's not hard. We actually did a talk at OpenStack Summit last week. We demoed OpenShift running on top of OpenStack and did auto scale out, which was really cool. So we're doing those things. So there's a potential relationship there, but it's not closely tied. We don't actually implement directly to a specific API. We don't tie anybody in. Big thing with our platform is we don't tie people to our platform. So if you develop a web app on OpenShift, it's just like developing it on bare metal. Like if you set up your own Apache with PHP and MySQL, we use environment variables to do config settings. So if you wanted to port back and forth, or use one as dev and one as prod or whatever. So moving on. Why platform service? It's very fast. It's very easy to set up and deploy and things like that. So if you're a web developer or if you're an admin who runs services for web developers, and you can allow these web developers, or as a web developer, you can set these things up. You can create them and destroy them ad hoc, and you can use them and play and test and dev and do your cycle and sprint and tear things down and set them up without ever having to configure a server. So we're kind of trying to take the added need out of that. So if you're a developer, you can use our command line tool to set up this environment, or the web interface set up this environment, or we have IDE integrations with Eclipse where you can just kind of click and deploy these things. And then if you're an ops person, you can set up and use things like Puppet to deploy your actual platform service environment and provision resources and allow your users to do these things, and they can set up and tear down as they please. So why OpenShift? It's easy, it's open source, all those great things. You can read the slide, I'm not going to read it to you, but effectively we think that we have a kind of a unique approach to trying to solve the problem of allowing developers to have more flexibility in what they do, and also negate the need for them to have to worry about the backend infrastructure, and then from the ops side, trying to alleviate the rapid need from developers to have their attention to deploy and set up things like this. So how to deploy an application on OpenShift? If you use the command line utilities, it's literally like 3 commands and then a git pull and a git push, depending on if you're cloning from an example repository, if you're pushing brand new code. So those things. Our web console, I like showing this slide because I think it's cool. I'm sure, I'm an ops guy, so I'm sure web devs probably think this is commonplace, but our web console scales and does things on different devices. Best in kind of what I like to call best in class. We have support for all the big players in web framework, web technologies. They all run on OpenShift, and we're continuing to try to add to this list as much as possible. We have a new partner network going on. So OpenShift Origin. This is our upstream code, our upstream project. This is where the community space is. And this is what we're actually going to deploy here in a second. Enough talk demo time. So I am going to precursor this a little bit with the fact that the actual deploy does take a little bit. So I went ahead and already pre-ran it because it has to download all the RPMs and do things like that. Where are we here? Here we go. Okay, so before I actually run that, I'm going to show you our. So if you go to OpenShift.github.io and you go to read the docs, and you go down to our documentation, and if you install and configure OpenShift using Puppet, this is exactly what I did. During lunch, I went and fired up an OpenStack instance out in our environment and installed. It was a Fedora 18 setup, and then I followed this guide step by step, and that's what we're about to run. So if we run after you create your config.pp, go ahead and actually I can show you that too in a second. But you just go ahead and run it, and it's going to go out and it's going to set everything up, and it's going to pull down all the packages, it's going to configure all the services, and as soon as this is done, once that runs through, you are then given a web console, username, admin, password, admin. Please change it if you use this for anything but an example. But yeah, I mean, it's in the documentation that the default username and password, and please change it off of our public module. And you log in, and this is our web console. We can deploy applications, so you can just kind of like pick something. So PHP 5.4, you give it an application name, a namespace, and you can go out and do things like, if I remember correctly, I think I still have my Quake. I was like, show this one just because it's fun. Actually, I might not be able to. Okay, so this ran. So yeah, it runs, it succeeded, and really quick, all the other things like, I just want to show you, like I said, I'm trying to roll into this. There's a lot of coverage. But this is actually everything that the public module is set up. We're using ActiveMQ, the broker on the back end of MCollective. Puppet Labs again, MCollective. So OpenShift actually relies very heavily on MCollective. It's our orchestration between our broker and our nodes. The Puppet module went out. It set up bind for DNS. It set up MongoDB for both authentication and the data store of our application data. It set up Apache. It set up Passenger. OpenShift is a Rails application. So all this in a button click basically, or a single command, and then let's see if this. Oh no, I apparently deleted that. I had a demo set up of an application running on OpenShift, but it's wait, did I call it something different? Probably did. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I did an Etherpad example, and I created this pad, and we'll just say Puppet Camp. If I can type and look to the side at the same time. So if anybody's ever done Etherpad, it's this old Node.js application that runs on MongoDB. It gives you a kind of interactive notepad, basically, chat window and all that. Oh, one thing also is first time you load, if anybody's ever done Node.js stuff, it has to optimize all the JSON modules and stuff, so the first time you load it takes a second. Another thing really quick. I completely forgot what the other thing was. So, alright, I'm done. I'm probably out of time. Thank you all.